but we really try to help build in structure and support for them. We want them to have a good plan for their day. So we want to make sure that it flows smoothly. They have time for classes. They have time to eat. Like, those are all the things that we're really working with them on.
I think it's an intrigue, which is this, wait a minute, we thought we knew what that was. We thought it was gone. Now it's coming back, and then we don't know exactly what that is. And like, there's power in that, right? There's a new car smell element. There is a allure of the unknown.
Another week, another edition of the Inside WSU Athletics podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. We got a couple of great guests and plenty to get all caught up on this week. We're excited to welcome in Heather Erwin, Associate Director of Athletics, Academic Services, and Student Athlete, and then Josh Ishoo, Pac-12 Vice President of Communications and External Affairs. And we will dive right into things. And first, though, we will say a big thank you, as always, to our sponsor, BECU. Welcome in, Jon Haarlow. Jon, it is always a busy time. We say that quite a bit, but when you think about the academic calendar, what's going on with athletics, it truly is a busy time right now.
Thanks, Chris. Good to see you as always. Busy time, special time. So much stuff going on academically and still closing out a lot of different things athletically, obviously, as well. So big week here. It's finals week. So you know, the student athletes are head down studying. I know some of them even had finals last week as well. The semester has absolutely flown by. It seemed like we blinked and it's gone, but that means a lot of new stuff in the works as well. So we've got obviously the graduations this weekend. Friday, we've got our senior celebration, which is always really cool just for our senior student athletes. Staffs are there, coaches are there, significant amount of friends and family. I can't remember the exact RSVP list, but I think we've got over 100 that are RSVP'd for Friday, which is really cool. Time to celebrate them and deservedly so. Give them the kudos of what they came here for and accomplished. And then tomorrow, or I guess which will be Tuesday, so I'm sure this will come out Wednesday. I'm really bad at the chronological order of this podcast. You know that at this point, but heading to Seattle, several donor discussions over there. Tuesday, Wednesday, also get an opportunity to sit down with several of the media outlets on the west side, which will be really fun to continue to tell our story, educate folks on what we're doing and how we can, how everyone can get involved and how we can continue to do this together to reach our full potential as an athletic department. So excited for that. A lot of good conversations we'll have over there. Come right back into Thursday. We've got a Board of Regents discussion, virtual. We've got one this week and then one the following week. A lot of budgetary discussions there. Several items on the agenda, not just athletic related, but we'll have conversations about where we're sitting for FY26 and then preliminary discussions in this one about what we're looking at for 27. So those will be fun. I always appreciate the regents and their time and diligence in those conversations. And then Friday, the senior celebration. So a lot of different stuff going on this week. And can't forget in future weeks, I know we've talked about this for a couple times now, but Night with Cougar Athletics in Spokane is coming in hot. So next Friday, Northern Quest Casino, that's going to be a great time. Those RSVPs or the registration list continues to climb at a pretty rapid pace, which is a good sign. That means there's buzz. That means there's energy. That means we can move the needle here for student athlete scholarships. So again, campus kind of winds down a little bit, but there's no winding down for us, and that's a lot of fun. So we get to pivot into a different time, focus on closing the spring right, hit the summer with ground running. No time to take a breath there because a lot of good things in the works.
Goodness, a busy week coming up, a lot to celebrate. And then with that, as you said, it is right around the corner, that Night with Cougar Athletics in Spokane. And as we kind of touched on last week, wrapping up the spring game's now over, but the fall's going to be here soon. And that means football. And then, of course, as we've discussed, football season tickets.
Tickets are on sale, and there's no better way to get involved than season tickets here. It's going to be a rockin' fall. Again, we've talked about this a number of times, the stadium improvements at Gisa Field that are going to be happening. It's going to be a reimagined game day atmosphere. a little more bolstered up production, those high impact moments, keep the crowd rocking and rolling, try and give us that competitive advantage that we know we can get inside that stadium. And so don't miss it. And I continue to say that, but I think I don't want to put words in Coach Moore's mouth, but I know that he would say the same thing. This is going to be a fall that you don't want to miss here on the Palouse.
Well said there. And taking a look back at what has happened since our last edition of the podcast, it was gorgeous weekend for baseball on the Palouse. Bailey Brayton Field was the place to be. The baseball program had another successful weekend, taking 2 out of 3 against Fresno State. So that's 5 straight series victories for Cougar baseball. The Cougs, again, 5 straight series wins, in 3rd place in the Mountain West standings. But the context of that, just a game and a half back out of first, and then the regular season for WSU and conference play, that will wrap up this upcoming weekend. It is a big series in Colorado Springs, heading to take on Air Force for a 3-game series. And we talk about the standings. The Falcons, they're 1 game ahead of the Cougs in the standings. So a chance to gain some ground with a successful weekend on the road against Air Force. Track, boy, there is more to celebrate and talk about there. WSU captured 4 event titles at the Stanford meet last weekend, highlighted by Rosemary Longisa's school record in the 800 meter. So Rosemary Longisa now holds the school record in the women's indoor 800 meter, the outdoor 800 meter, the indoor mile, and the 1500 meter. What an incredible resume she just keeps adding on to. Next week, the Cougars will travel to Portland. That is May 15th for the final tune-up before the NCAA West preliminary round. Men's golf, the Cougars finished 9th at the WCC Championships, though freshman Dylan Benning tied for 4th on the individual leaderboard. WSU now waits for the NCAA Championship selection show this week to see if the season will continue. And rowing last week faced Oregon State at Lake Dexter, just outside of Corvallis. Next in action, May 15th through the 16th at the WCC Championships, and that will be just outside of Sacramento.
Chris, that's a laundry list, as it always is every week. Rosie's list of credentials and milestones are pretty incredible. That list is ever growing. I want to reflect on baseball. You mentioned it, but what an incredible weekend we had here. Just the number of fans. I don't have the exact count in front of me, but it was an awesome environment at Bailey Brayton all weekend long. Weather was wonderful. Cougs are playing good baseball, and it's going to get bananas down the stretch here with the jockeying for position with those top 4 or 5 spots, but an opportunity to go to Air Force this upcoming weekend and make an impact. And it's awesome to be playing some really, really meaningful baseball down the stretch here. Really proud of that group. Anybody that's ever spent time with that group, it is a tremendous group of student athletes. They are awesome, charismatic, high character individuals, and it's been a really, really fun spring to hang around them, and excited to see what we do down the stretch here.
Yeah, a lot to be excited for. And as you said, it was meaningful baseball this last weekend at Bailey Brayton Field, and there's going to be a lot of meaningful baseball still to come during this final little bit of the regular season. Well, with that, we will take a timeout, have a word from our sponsor, BECU. When we return, we'll be joined by Heather Erwin.
How do you spot a Coug in the wild? Head to toe crimson, gray, and, well, anything except purple? A simple go Cougs at an airport halfway around the globe? Or maybe just a little pride from BECU and some extra money in your pocket when you pay for your tacos. Get the card Cougs everywhere recognize. Join today. BECU. Go Cougs.
We now welcome in our first guest on this week's episode of the podcast, Heather Erwin, Associate Director of Athletics, Academic Services, and Student Athlete Development. Heather, it is great to chat with you here today, and let's just dive right into it. You've been overseeing the academic unit here for many years. What does that entail? How big is your staff, and how does your unit support our student athlete academic efforts?
Hi, good morning. Thanks, Chris. I have been overseeing academics for a while now. I've been at WSU actually for 15 years, so kind of son and done and seen many different roles in this space, but right now we are actually located in the Champion Center, which just opened not too long ago. We've been here a little over a year now, and I have 5 academic staff down here, advisors, along with 1 learning specialist, and then we also have in this space student athlete development, mental health, and all of those things. So we're down here. We're helping students with class selection, eligibility, time management, all of those things that kind of go along with being a student athlete, and really helping them manage their time and make sure that ultimately they're earning that degree.
Well, we're having this conversation at the time of year where the semester is ending this week and finals are taking place. What does your team do to honor the graduating student athletes?
So probably one of our favorite times of year is our graduation celebrations, and they happen twice a year. We do one in the winter after fall semesters, so for our fall sports. And then coming up actually this Friday is our spring graduation celebration. And typically what we do is we try to get as many friends and family and community members, faculty, campus partners, anybody that we can come to the celebration. And we have awards and all kinds of things like that. In the fall, we honored around 25 student athletes. It's smaller in the fall. In the spring, we have around 65, and we're anticipating over 100 friends and family to come celebrate with us. So it should be a pretty good time.
Heather, one thing that many might not know is once our student athletes have exhausted their eligibility, we still have opportunities for them to complete their degree. Maybe talk through what that looks like for our student athletes.
Yeah, so that's called our DCP program, our degree completion program. And what we're really trying to do is bring student athletes back here who maybe tried to pursue other opportunities before they were able to finish their degree. So maybe they were training professionally, or maybe they wanted to go out and they had a job opportunity that was right for them. And so our degree completion program allows student athletes to come back to WSU and finish their degree. We work with their campus advisor along with WSU athletics in terms of funding or planning for that. And we always have a fair amount of student athletes kind of on that path, whether it be maybe a football player who is training for the combine this spring, so they're away from campus, and so they're doing their degree remotely. Or we have student athletes that come back a number of years later. Like right now, we have a couple of former student athletes. One is actually graduating this spring, Dayon Buchanan, who's been gone, I think, like 11 years or something like that. So getting him back to campus and enrolled to finish those credits as well. So that's something that we're really proud of and work really hard to connect with students on.
It's a really important thing and a pretty cool opportunity. It can be a really big jump from high school to college. You've got all sorts of new things you're balancing. You're kind of on your own, likely in a new geographical location. What do you do to help those incoming student athletes get acclimated to WSU?
That's probably one of the hardest things for student athletes. That's a big adjustment. You're talking about a lot of different time demands. You're talking about a lot of different moving parts that maybe they're not used to, probably with a lot of other social factors that go into this, like you're in a new exciting place. And so what we really try to do is onboard student athletes in a pretty positive and connected way. Like we want them to build connections with all of the support services that they're going to have. So we do have a summer bridge program where we have a lot of our fall sports coming in. That onboarding process is pretty rigorous. They're here for like 7 weeks, taking a class, working out, doing all of those things. And then come fall, when we're onboarding the rest of our student athletes that don't come for bridge, we have them do the orientation process as well to make sure that when they go out there on the first day of class, they're ready. They're ready to know where the buildings are on campus and all of those fun things. But beyond that, we have our advisors who have sport assignments. And so each team has an advisor that they work with. So that advisor is really connected with them, with their team. And then we also do weekly meetings. We have in-house tutoring. We have all of those pieces to help manage their time, building to-do lists, creating tutoring objectives, and really just making sure that they're getting a good jump start on their academics right away.
Critical to their success long-term here, and then really even beyond their time here at WSU once they get into the whatever their next chapter is. One of the things when there's success on the field or in the pool or the court or what have you, it's often pretty publicly celebrated, or that word travels pretty fast. But sometimes it's not as widely circulated as all the success that they have in the classroom. Maybe talk through some of the accomplishments that we've seen this semester.
I think that overall our athletes are incredible. They are a really hardworking group. They put in a lot of work both in the classroom and on the court. And that really shows in our GPA and our results as far as like what we can measure at the end of each semester. So over 75% of our student athletes have over a 3.0. We had 57 that actually earned a 4.0 in the fall. Grades for this semester don't post till next week. So I anticipate that we'll see a lot of success there as well. But I mean, we have 10 students who have maintained a 4.0 for multiple semesters, and that's really important to them. And those numbers are pretty high, and they're probably the highest that I've seen in my time here. And that's just a measure of like all of the moving parts and people working together to make sure that things flow smoothly for our students. They have time to be able to do the different things that they need, because we have students that they're graduating quickly. They're coming in with maybe AP classes and things. They're able to pursue a master's program, add on a minor, different things like that. So we have actually 23 student athletes that are in master's programs right now.
Wow, those are some really great accomplishments to celebrate. And with that, I mean, there are some challenges when it comes to being a student athlete. You typically have a non-traditional schedule. How do you help navigate some of those challenges that student athletes face when it comes to academics?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of pressure for student athletes to perform in both areas. And I think that the biggest challenge, and probably if you ask them, they would maybe echo this, that it's time, right? They don't have a lot of it and they need more of it. And they're constantly juggling, whether it be, an extra study session for an exam or maybe getting extra work in athletically. And so helping them balance those things is probably the most challenging thing, but we really try to help build in structure and support for them. We want them to have a good plan for their day. So we want to make sure that it flows smoothly. They have time for classes. They have time to eat. Like those are all the things that we're really working with them on. And then helping make a schedule that makes sense for them. Some student athletes like breaks in between their classes, and other student athletes need back to back to back because they're just like, I need to get it done so that I can move on and focus on other things. So it's just really helping them manage their time and making sure that they have a good class schedule that accommodates that. And we work with campus, and our student athletes have priority registration. So there's a lot of other factors that go into making sure that things flow really smooth for them.
How important is that collaboration between your team and campus as a whole?
Yeah, we work with campus all the time. It's absolutely essential to what we do. I mean, part of our onboarding process that I talked about is partnered with new Coug orientation. And so we're making sure that student athletes are attending that, getting the lay of the land from campus, seeing the different support services that are out there, whether it be like multicultural center, the math center, things that they would need throughout their career here. But we're also partnering, my staff is partnering with advisors on campus, and the advisors are critical for helping ensure that we have good grad plans and that those are being met in the time to degree that student athletes have. So we have student athletes in over 80 majors. And so it's making sure that we have our advisors connecting with them and that we have a solid grad plan in place, because we never want to see somebody be delayed for any type of reason.
Yeah, the partnership is pretty critical. Transfer portal has changed everything here in college athletics, and the transient nature of students moving, coming, going. How's that changed what you all do?
The transfer portal has made things a little bit more complex when it comes to degree planning, finding degrees that work, working on transfer credits, making sure that that transition is smooth. So I'm going to go back to campus partners on that one. We have to work very diligently with admissions, with our transfer center, with more campus advisors to make sure that we have a good plan in place. And, a lot of times we can get a student who's coming in with wanting to do a business degree. Maybe they could do the degree, but maybe not in the time that they want. And so working to find a path and a plan that they would like and that aligns with their time frame, their goals, what they're looking to do, that's probably the most challenging piece, and finding that middle ground that works for all of the things, because they want to do it all.
All right, Heather, toughest question of the session here. What's the best part about your job?
The best part about my job is just working with the students. And I've always said that. I think that even though my job has changed over the years, I don't ever want to lose touch with the students and working with them, because if you don't have that connection, you're not in tune with as much of what's going on and the challenges that they're facing. And I think that's why I can be effective in my role, because I have those connections and I'm seeing what is currently challenging for them, and then helping them achieve their goals, whether it be graduating, working to get to the NFL or the NBA or whatever those things are, like finding them the paths and helping them make connections. So this place is special. I love the people, but working with the student athletes is important.
Our coaches could not do what they do if it wasn't for all the hard work of Heather and her team. So Heather, you all are grinders all the time. What you and your team do is incredible. So thank you for everything you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Again, Heather, appreciate the time. Keep up the great work. And with that, we will take a quick timeout. When we return, Josh Ishoo from the Pac-12 office will be joining us. Josh Ishoo, Pac-12 Vice President of Communication and External Affairs. Plenty to get to with Josh. That's right after this.
How do you spot a Coug in the wild? Head to toe crimson, gray, and, well, anything except purple? A simple "Go Cougs" at an airport halfway around the globe? Or maybe just a little pride from BECU and some extra money in your pocket when you pay for your tacos. Get the card Cougs everywhere recognize. Join today. BECU. Go Cougs.
We're excited to welcome in our second guest on this week's episode of the podcast. John, can you tell us who we have hopping on with us?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I think our listeners, viewers will be excited about this. We've got Josh Ishoo, Vice President for Communication and External Affairs for the Pac-12. Josh, did I get that right?
You did. Yeah, this is great to be on. And I don't know how exciting it is to have me on, but I hope. Happy to chat about this, and great to be on with you and Chris.
Well, there's so much going on with the league right now. Probably never a more exciting time as we head to that esteemed date of July 1. But maybe for our fans, tell us a little bit about your role.
Sure. I get to play the fun role of PR and communications as well as brand, also overseeing our social media. Now, PR can be fun and it can not be fun, right, as we all know. But lately, what we're doing versus what the previous Pac-12 went through, as we all know and Cougs fans know, to see what's happening now and to be a part of something special with you, John, and all of our teammates and what we're building. That's quite exciting. Much better than the alternative. So,
well, last week was a big week for the Pac-12 with the release of the new logo. Can you talk about what that process entailed and how long that had been in the works for?
Absolutely. It was collaborative. It was very intentional. We started this process, I think it was 2 years ago, with all of our athletic directors in a room and several blank whiteboards to walk through, hey, what do we want this new Pac-12 to be? What do we want to feel like? What do we want people to experience from it, including student athletes, first and foremost? And that process then continued. We weren't going to sit there and say, hey, this boardroom of however many executives are going to decide what the new Pac-12 brand is. We need to actually discuss that with the people who live it and who are going to live it and who have lived it. So we did over 100 plus in-depth interviews with student athletes, past and present. You did one yourself. Thank you for your time on that. I had the chance to listen to that one. Presidents, athletic directors, coaches, that all informed, and that wasn't on a logo specific design, but rather the strategic vision overall and what do we want this brand to be for the new Pac-12. It's a 110-year-old startup. That doesn't make sense, right? 110 years old startup. What exactly is that? Kind of like college sports in a lot of ways. Some fans might suggest not a whole lot makes sense these days, but if we have an opportunity here to do something special, to take a blank slate approach, let's not miss that opportunity. So all of that informed the overall vision, but that did measure into the meaning of what you see with the brand identity and the starting point of that, which is the primary mark and logo. The charge for us was to evolve, not eject. This was an evolution, not a revolution. One way we tried to think about it, I might ask in the form of a question. John, you've heard this question, but Best Batman? Who's everyone's best Batman? Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, George Clooney, Christian Bale. Who are you going with?
John, you're up first.
Probably Michael Keaton. I like the old school a little bit.
I would agree.
Okay.
I was going to say the same thing. Maybe it's because of
There's no question.
when that movie came out and that Batman, but I thought that was a fun spin on Batman.
I'm with you guys. Now, the Christian Bale movies were amazing, but I'm a Michael Keaton person as well. Point of that question is to think about it in terms of the brand is always Batman, right? Just like the Pac-12, the brand is always going to be the Pac-12. This is a new interpretation of the brand that is going to come to life, just like Tim Burton and Michael Keaton brought a different interpretation as Chris Nolan, Christian Bale, and now the Robert Pattinson movies and so forth. So that's how we chose to think about it. What is this next interpretation of the Pac-12 going to be that we can set up now in terms of foundation for this 110-year-old startup and go from there?
Well, on that note, it was neat to see student athletes involved in this. What went into the decision to have student athletes involved in that rollout?
That was something we talked about very early on. If everything we talk about is student athlete first and being student athlete centered, how we think about the modern day student athlete is a phrase you've heard Teresa Gould, our commissioner, say a lot in acknowledging that, as we all know, today's student athletes are not the same as yesterday's, let alone 5 years ago. So with them being at the center of everything we do we just lead with this starting point of the new brand identity and go with the press release and put it out that way and then let it get to them and then they see it and acknowledge it? They were involved in the process even at the end in terms of final decisions on some key elements of, hey, are we going this direction or are we going that direction in terms of logo? And as far as the announcement and unveil, this is a league that they are going to bring to life. This is a brand that they're going to bring to life with the new Pac-12. So we thought it only appropriate to find a way for them to have the first opportunity to introduce that starting point for the new brand. And we did so with getting T-shirts to all 9 campuses. We targeted April 25th as a date that had 5 of 8 spring football events, which was a nice showcase. And really excited for how that worked out. It was a different approach, which comes with some pain points and understanding of, hey, we don't know exactly how this is going to go, but that really, John, maybe, it's fair to say that's kind of the new Pac-12, right? We're going to think about things differently. I heard President Cantwell in your introductory presser talk about how we're not going to just live by outdated assumptions, right? Kind of that challenger mentality. We thought about that even here with the rollout of the logo. How do we think about this in a different way that makes it more impactful and brings meaning? That is the best way forward for us. So I'm very happy with how that rolled out. And even though there was some strange, hey, what's going on social media Saturday? Is this logo official? It's rolling out in San Marcos. It's in what's going on here? But it was fun to see that. And then follow on 2 days later with the official announcement.
I like what you said there, Josh, about the student athletes continue to be at the center of what we do. There's obviously all sorts of other things out there, but they're still the core element, providing opportunities for them. So it was awesome to see them play such a huge piece in that. A different question here, and you know this well, so it's not a curveball for you, but there was all sorts of different materials out there. You got this one, I'm certain. But maybe talk through. There's all sorts of different elements in the logo itself. The removal of the border. It's clean, it's sharp, the mountain, the wave. Maybe talk through a couple. Don't have to go through all of them because I know the story is very, very deep, but maybe just a couple of those highlights.
Absolutely. So what did we want the mark to represent as a starting point for the new brand? And while it wasn't, hey, it needs to have these 10 things baked into it, we knew that meaning needed to come through in some form or fashion. So that was intentional. You mentioned the first one off the bat, right? No border. Very quickly on, we knew, well, first off, the shield wasn't going anywhere. When we talked to student athletes, we would hear about how, especially for the incoming new Pac-12 programs, hey, I'm excited to wear that shield. I can't wait to wear the shield. It's going to be awesome to have the shield on. That reference, right? The shield. It wasn't the logo, it wasn't the Pac-12 mark. It's called the shield. And so in looking at that shield equity, and we even started to see, working with a design agency who did this, Lincoln Design Co. in Vancouver, Washington, they started to paint a picture of, if you just look at the silhouettes of all these different shields, right? The NFL, these are like highway signs, parks and recreations. And then we started to see what our shield resembled, and it was more performance brands like Ferrari and Lamborghini. And there was a sleekness to it that obviously we weren't going to look to change or move off of. So that shield was always going to be there. But the border was one of the first things we kind of identified and saying, all right, if we're talking about bringing something to life, this league has no limits. Why should we accept a status quo, which is a confine? So that thing had to go. Now that brings, which more savvy design folks will tell you, hey, okay, well, if you don't have a border, how are you going to put it on different applications? So we work through that and how it sits now. If the logo never will have a border, will never be confined by anything, but it can sit on different colors to make whatever application work. In addition, right, bolder letters, more aggressive. I mean, Teresa in her introductory presser 2 years ago talked about wanting to be bold and aggressive and open-minded, right? Those three kind of just epitomized right there in what I just described in the boldness of the lettering, and then no border and confining us. The electric A, and that to me was probably the biggest move that we were going to make in terms of evolving the logo. So the previous A and how it sat, as Cougs fans all know, right, that housed the mountain and the wave in it in a way that was kind of a larger shape. And what actually ends up happening, and you both know this well, and your equipment managers very much know this, when that logo were to be put on different sizes, right, scaled down across jerseys and helmets, there's actually a reduced version that the mountain and the wave, because of the delicateness and that all those very specific details in it, wouldn't replicate at that scale down. So we had a reduced mark, which just kind of had the big wave sitting there with nothing in it. The big A sitting there with nothing in it. So that scale had to be something we wanted to focus on, and we knew there was going to be a different interpretation of the A and making that PAC and the pack fitting in a more uniform manner. But that electricity, we heard about that from student athletes as well, wanting to feel the energy and electricity of a sold out stadium and how awesome it is to perform in front of those types of crowds and what that meaning is, right? Like Apple Cup, Kyle Thornton shout out a couple of years ago, right? Like that type of energy and what that electricity is. And that was something we wanted to find a way. All right, how does that get in here? And how does that, all of the power conversation, are you power this or power that? And like, okay, if we make labels irrelevant, if we focus on who we are, hey, what's the source of power? Electricity, we'll put a charge right in the middle of our logo. So all of that was intentional to have meaning in what ultimately, as we chose to look at it, right, a superhero's tool, the superheroes being our student athletes, and giving them that which they can wear and use and take forward. So there's more details in there, as you know, John, but I know you don't want the full list.
Yeah. No, I like that. One, I like to shout out to Vancouver, and then anytime you can shout out 5-2 there, we love
right.
Kyle Thornton and the results there. Maybe the logo aside, but how do you think the national media views the Pac-12 relaunch and what's ahead for the Pac-12?
I think, and I'd be curious your take as well, I think it's an intrigue, which is this, wait a minute, we thought we knew what that was. We thought it was gone. Now it's coming back, and we don't know exactly what that is. And like, there's power in that, right? There's a new car smell element. There is a allure of the unknown, and kind of why we all watch sports, right? Who's going to win? What's going to happen? We don't know how the story's going to be told and what's going to take place. So I see that intrigue happening a lot. I think it coincides with the wildness of college athletics right now in general, and we're making sense of, I won't say certain conferences that have schools in their league that are contradictory to even where they physically sit, but that's just the nature of what it is right now. So I think there's something about what we're doing and how we're hopefully taking that authentic approach. I mean, John, I think about, what we've laid out and you being a key part of that process, right, this whole time. And we said we wanted to be a challenger mindset. We said we wanted to find the best way forward and not just accept the status quo. I look at the Flex Week schedule announcement, right? Apologies if I just blanked out there. I look at the Flex Week schedule announcement, and what was the confine of, hey, you have to play 12 different teams in 12 games, and you have to announce who you're playing in February, or people are going to go crazy. We said, well, what if there's a better way? What if that 12th game, we think about that differently? And we obviously did that in what we're doing with Flex Week. And that reception alone was, whoa, hey, they're doing something different over there. why don't these other leagues think about doing that? Which was kind of the narrative we started to see. So I do think, yeah, there's intrigue with what's happening here.
Well, and over the past couple of years, the conference has taken these bold steps, and how it's branded comes to mind the Pac-12 After Dark event in Vegas a couple years back. Is it intentional to take that a different approach with these traditional events?
Absolutely. I mean, Pac-12 After Dark is going to be a part of anything we do. I mean, that's probably one of the biggest brands of the Pac-12, and it's so much fun. Yeah, that after hours event. Wild to think that was 2 years ago. Feels like a lot longer. But again, back to Kyle Thornton, shout out. That is how we hope to move forward. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you want to, somebody who's on our team with a lot of this brand project, veteran, guru, as I would put him, said something that really sticks with me. Like, look, let's not bring sand to the beach. The world doesn't need another college athletics conference. If we're going to do the same thing that everyone else is doing and play by their rules, kind of live in that confine, that status quo, right? How are we going to stand out? Where's that breakthrough going to be? And is that something people are going to want to connect with if it's the same thing they just keep seeing from everywhere else? So, yeah, I do think we want to think differently like that. That after hours event, which was well before we even knew there would be a new Pac-12. I mean, that was July 2024, and all focused on the Beavs and Cougs. That was the start of this probably mentality and that process for what has evolved. And not to say that the new schools had to come in and just accept that this was the brand we were working on. I think there was a sincere alignment in how everyone is wanting to think, and not just going, again, living by outdated assumptions, as President Cantwell put it. Let's think about something differently if there's a better way forward for us. So anytime you get Pac-12 After Dark, right, it's going to be fun and special.
Gotta love it. Well, Josh, we'll let you get back to your day. We appreciate you taking the time. Excitement, energy. July 1 can't come soon enough. Still got to close out the spring, but a lot of exciting times ahead. Good to see you. We'll talk to you soon.
Likewise. Thank you, guys.
Well, big thanks not only to Josh, but to Heather Erwin as well. That will do it for this week's edition of the Inside WSU Athletics podcast. A big thanks, as always, to our sponsor, BECU. Appreciate you tuning in. We'll talk to you next week. Go Cougs.
Go Cougs.